How to Win Friends and Influence People, 6 ways to get people to like you, with the 6 of those ways simply being this: make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. George Eastman is the founder of the Kodak camera company, and he invented the Kodak film. In his later years, he became very philanthropic, building hospitals and museums and numerous things for children. And he was building a theater, and there was some people coming in to see him to buy the chair, or put the chairs in. And the architect that was with the gentleman to see George Eastman said, he's a very stickler for time. We can only spend 5 minutes in here, or you'll lose his attention and you'll lose his business. So the gentleman said, okay. And as they walked in, he noticed how beautiful Mr. Eastman's office was, and he commented to him, I would love to work in such a beautiful office. He says, I'm in interior woodworking design, and this is some of the most amazing woodwork I've ever seen. George Eastman said to him, he goes, I'd almost forgotten how beautiful this office is. I get so busy and come here that I don't pay attention to it. And the gentleman walked up and rubbed his hand along the wall, and he says, oh, this is fine English oak, almost like Italian. And George Eastman smiled, and he said, yes, I had that imported from a friend. And they began to walk around the office, admiring the different woodwork. And as they went by the window and looked out across the city, he noticed several buildings, and he pointed out to this gentleman the different buildings that he was trying to help and build, and seemed to be reminiscing about his childhood and how he had grown up poor, and how he was doing all that he could to try and help children in their youth to avoid the type of poverty that he had. They formed a special connection. Not only did 5 minutes go by, an hour went by, 2 hours went by. And he said, George Eastman said, he says, I have some chairs that I got out at my house. And he says, I've recently painted them. I did have the chairs flown in from Japan, but he says, I recently needed to paint them, so I painted them. I'd love to show those to you. He invited him out to his home for dinner. Guess what he got? A $90,000 order. But more importantly, these two gentlemen became friends for life. Why? Because George Eastman's potential purchaser was a friend, took interest in him, cared about him, and they became lifelong friends. My friends, treat people with sincerity. Treat them as though they are important and of value. Why? Because they are.